Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 8, the mid-season finale. And this episode, I'm just going to get right into it. This episode came out on December 11th, 2016, and this episode is called Hearts Still Beating. And I'm just going to say it right now. This episode was probably one of the better episodes of this season. I think these last two episodes really brought The Walking Dead back up, a little bit again. I don't know if it really brought it back up yet because we still have to see how the season finishes off. But after a dreadful, I would say, first half of the season, because I thought the first half of the season largely kind of sucked. It still had good episodes, but it just really felt like it was moving in a very slow pace, and it just didn't really feel like it just felt like it was very. It just didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. And this episode, I think, finally brought some hope. I think it definitely kind of left you off with a cliffhanger, but you kind of know what's about to come. So that's what I think. Now, obviously, a lot of stuff happened in this episode, so I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on certain things and kind of talk about the minor storylines. And then, obviously, when it leads to like the big storyline is what I really start talking about. So I'm going to start off by talking about the stuff that happened with the Kingdom first, because it really didn't matter in this episode, but obviously I expect it to be built to a bigger picture that's going to happen later on in the season. So, Morgan and Carol, Carol who wants to be left alone, keeps getting bombarded by people like Morgan and then eventually Richard, and Richard wants to talk to Morgan and Carol, and he begs Morgan and Carol to convince Ezekiel to strike first against the Saviors. He talked about how they made a deal, how they knew Ken Ezekiel's abilities, and how he wouldn't want to fight the Saviors. So that's what made him make the deal where, for an exchange for food and supplies, they would, not kill people. They would let them live. But Richard feels like it's only a matter of time before something goes wrong. Either the Saviors break their deal, somebody in the Kingdom strikes against the Saviors. He feels like something's going to go wrong eventually, so he wants Morgan and Carol to convince Ken Ezekiel to strike first against the Saviors, so that way they can finally put an end to this war. And Morgan and Carol refuse. Carol doesn't want to do it because obviously everything she talked about in the last season, at the end of the last season, and then obviously in this season, where she doesn't want to kill anybody anymore because it's starting to get to her. Morgan doesn't want to do it because he believes all life is precious, and Richard said, "But you killed one of the Saviors before," and then he said, "I took a life to save a life." And then Richard gets pissed, saying that this is the same thing, and Morgan says, "But." Morgan says, "What? So that way everything could go back to being negative and we could possibly lose this fight? What if everybody's at peace right now and I just don't want to deal with this?" So Richard says that if something happens, the blood's going to be on their hands, but I'm assuming you guys are used to that. Richard leaves, and Carol wants Morgan that if anyone to tell them that if anyone wants to visit Carol, tell them that she left, because Carol just wants to be left alone. And overall, I like this part of the episode. You could technically say this was a down, though, because this really didn't affect the episode at all. But I think, in overall, as of what's probably going to happen in the future, it probably will get an up. And I liked this part of the episode because it's building, I think, to something in the future of the season. Then later on, Richard goes to like an old RV that was left back there, and he starts crying because I think he was remembering like his lost family. So yeah. Then I'll talk about what happened back at the sanctuary. Obviously, we know from an anonymous source, Dale had received a letter that said "Go now" with a key to a motorcycle hooked to the back of it, and I'm just reading something. And Dale sneaks out of his cell, and somebody knocks something over, so Dale realizes that if he goes over there, his hiding place will be given away. So he goes into somebody's room, puts their clothes on, eats their peanut butter, because I think Dale realizes that he's not going to have the energy to fight since all he's been eating is dog food sandwiches, even though dog food I hear has great protein, but still. And then when Dale tries to sneak out and go for the motorcycle in the back, he runs into Fat Joey, who is just Joey, and Joey begs for his life by saying that Dale can just leave and he won't say anything. All we've been trying to do is get by, and Dale beats him to death with a lead pipe, and Jesus stops him, and then he tells Jesus that that he may talk about how he's ready to fight. I don't know how they've been just trying to get by, but all they're doing is taking all their stuff. And then him and Jesus leave together, and obviously we're supposed to assume that he's going to go to the hilltop, so I thought that was cool. Then, damn it, I got milk in my mustache. The main story, what that went down was everything that went down back at Alexandria with Negan and Rick and stuff. Negan is at Alexandria, and he's teaching Carl how to shave. He makes Carl spaghetti and rolls, and Olivia's afraid. Taylor offers for her to give her a break. By the way, that Taylor episode really went somewhere, didn't it? No, it didn't. It didn't go anywhere. If it doesn't go, I mean, that episode was just a waste of time. But I'm not here to talk about that. And Olivia said no. She wants to protect Judith because she made a promise to Rick. I thought Olivia came off very well in this episode. And Negan doesn't want to wait for Rick any longer, so he talked about how Lucille is starving. I guess we were supposed to have thought that he was going to bash him, but he's head in, so yeah. And then as the Saviors take all the weapons and food that Spencer had found, one of them flirts with Spencer, and Spencer goes and gets himself all cleaned up, and Rosita confesses to Gabriel, and she talks about how she wants to kill Negan, and Gabriel wants to, and Rosita knows that even if she kills Negan, that she will die. So Gabriel wants to know why it has to be her, and Rosita pretty much says that she doesn't have anyone. She doesn't have anything. Michonne and Carl have Rick. Dale is strong, and how she just doesn't. She just feels alone. And Gabriel said that there's a better way than you taking your own life, and that was the whole scene. And then Rosita and Spencer kind of confess their love for each other in a sense, because Rosita talks about how back in season 6, episode 14, how she used Spencer because she wanted just to forget everything that happened with Abraham and everything that happened with the Saviors. And she apologizes for it because Spencer is cute, tall, and a nice guy. And Spencer asked her to do dinner on a date, and Rosita accepts. And then that was basically that scene. Now, before I talk about everything that went down with Spencer, let me talk about everything that went down with Rick and Aaron. So Rick and Aaron, they find I would say like not really a cruise ship, but kind of like a I'm trying to find out what it was because I don't really remember. I forgot to mention too while I'm talking about this. When Jesus went to when Jesus went to the sanctuary, Sasha lied where he was because he didn't want she didn't want Maggie to want to help because obviously she wants to protect Maggie, because we know that Sasha wants to kill Negan, and Edith tries to talk her out of it by saying that you're not the only one that wants to kill Negan. So I like that. I forget the name of like the boat, but it was like a I wouldn't say it was like a cruise ship, but it was definitely one of those fishing boats. And they Rick and Aaron take a canoe to get take a first canoe. Yeah. Rick. There was an abandoned houseboat. That's what I was trying to think of. And obviously it's filled with walkers that are just in the water because they have that stuff pretty protected. So Rick and Aaron take a first canoe that's has a ton of bullet holes in it, and Rick and Aaron use like some random pieces of wood that they found as as a row as an oar. No, an oar because I was thinking like a row like a rowboat, but as an oar, and they kill zombies on the way, and then the thing starts to fill up with water really quick, and Aaron gets pulled into the water by one of the zombies, and we were supposed to have thought he's dead because he was underwater for a while, but I guess in real life he just swam under all of them. And Rick and Aaron take all the stuff, and they find a note that says, "You think you've won, but you still lose." And they just assume the guy was being a sore loser. But Rick and Aaron take all the supplies. Rick just assumes that Aaron couldn't do it, but he just didn't want Aaron to risk his life. And he said that not a lot of people understand why we're doing all this, but we're doing all this so people could survive. And Aaron says he saw everything that went down with Abraham and Glenn in the first episode of the season premiere, I should have just said. And he said that he wants to keep people alive as well. And then when Rick and Aaron leave, we see somebody peek out through the woods with big boots and stuff, which we know we're supposed to assume that it was one of the guys that owned the houseboat. I'm assuming that's going to play into a later season, but obviously, or a later episode. But overall, I like that part of the episode. And then when Rick and Aaron get back, the Saviors take all the stuff, and they find that note that the guy left, and they assume that they wrote it. So the Saviors beat the shit out of Aaron, and Rick tries to intervene, but a rat holds him at gunpoint, and yeah, they beat the shit out of Aaron, and Rick tries to apologize, but Aaron's like, "It's cool." And well, I mean, it isn't cool. He got fucking beaten the shit out of, but he said he took one for the team, pretty much. And then Spencer goes to talk to Negan, and they're having like a typical conversation, but we know something's gonna happen with Spencer and Negan. But they start off having a typical conversation, just about Rick and about Alexandria and stuff, and they play pool together. What I liked about watching them play pool is that this was happening at the same time the Sabres were beating the shit out of Aaron. So when Spencer shot the white ball with his pool paddle, I know that just shows you how much I play pool. It cut like immediately to like Aaron getting beat up, which I thought was actually pretty cool. And Spencer confesses that Rick wasn't always the leader of Alexandria; it was his mom. And Rick is an egomaniac. He likes to be in control, and he pretty much overthrew his mom, Deanna, and everything was going fine when she was running things. But now that since Rick's running things, everything's different now. So Spencer wants to take leadership because he feels like that he can be a better leader than Rick can. He can keep everybody safe. And Negan tells Spencer that Rick has been going out there sacrificing himself and showing that he's got some real guts by getting supplies for him and his people, and keeping his people safe. And he's showing that he's got true guts. But Spencer waited till Rick was gone to try to get him out of leader, and he said that he wonders if he really has any guts. And then he cuts his stomach open with a machete, and all his guts fall out. And then Spencer says, "Oh, I was wrong. You did have guts. My bad. Sometimes I'm wrong." I thought that was hilarious. That he did this. I liked that scene where he cut his guts off after saying he didn't have guts. I thought that was A good scene. And Rosita, Negan wants someone to come up and finish the pool game. Rosita gets so distraught that she tries to shoot Negan, but she accidentally shoots Lucille. And you don't want to fuck with Lucille. You don't fucking do that shit to Negan. So a Watt tackles her to the ground, and Negan realizes that the bullet was handmade, so he wants to know who made the bullet. And Rosita tried to take the blame and said she made the bullet. So Negan knows she's lying. So if she doesn't confess, he threatens that her face is going to be fucking cut off. And he doesn't want that pretty face being cut off, which I didn't want that either. But it was happening regardless. And he, when she doesn't confess, he has a lot kill somebody, and she shoots Olivia right in the eye, killing her. And then Eugene, no, that doesn't. So then when Rick comes over, Rick says that this wasn't part of the deal. You were supposed to wait a week. And Negan reveals that Rick, that Carl had come down and tried to shoot his men, and he's been really reasonable to Rick. He brought Carl back home after that. He killed Spencer when he tried to take over leadership. He killed Olivia, giving him, causing one big mouth not to be much of a problem, to which I kind of agree with that, because one of my friends' big mouth has become a problem for me lately, so there you go. Rick tells him that he has supplies and you can leave, and Negan agrees to leave, but he wants to know who made that bullet first, and Taylor tries to take the blame, but then Eugene confesses that it was him, and to prove that it was him, he tells him all the ingredients that went into making the bullet, and Negan kidnaps Eugene, takes all the supplies, and says that you're not gonna get away with this. Well, no, he says that now you have to get me more supplies to make up for the behavior today. And then Rick's in the prison cell with that note, which I'm assuming that note's going to play into a factor eventually. And then we also found out that Michonne, obviously in the last episode, took somebody gunpoint and tried to get her to bring her to Negan. So when they get to the sanctuary, Michonne finds out that there's just too many numbers, so she can't kill Negan. So the person that Michonne has gunpoint threatens, just wants to die, so she has Michonne kill her using a silencer, and when Michonne goes back, she tells Rick that she went to the sanctuary and realizes that, yes, we don't have the numbers and we would lose. But Michonne brings up the speech how, I don't want this just to be my way. I want this to be our way. And she talks about how we've survived through everything because we were able to fight. And we can still fight. We can still fight and beat them, because if we don't, then what's the point of living? So then Rick says that he gets that now. They kiss. And then Rick, Michonne, Carl, Rosita, and Taylor, like I'm missing someone, and Michonne, I already said that though, all go to the hilltop, and him and Maggie hug, and Rick says that Maggie was right. We can fight these guys, and we can win. And everybody kind of rejoices together. Rick and Dale finally come together, so I like that ending. It was a positive thing. Dale gives Rick back his revolver that he's had pretty much since the show started. And everybody's together like, we're going to fucking fight these guys. We're going to fucking fight Negan, and we're going to win. That's kind of the attitude that everybody had. That was like the symbolic attitude. And they all finally come together, and they're all ready and united to fight the Saviors. And also, another thing that they kind of teased is that Sasha and Rosita still have some issues with each other, because we know when Abraham left Rosita, he went with Sasha. So I feel like that's definitely some tension that they're trying to build to, probably in the future seasons. And I loved this ending. I thought this ending kicked so much ass, and I thought this episode was great. If I had to rate it, I'll probably give it an 8.5. An 8.5. It was a great episode. I thought this was probably one of the best episodes they've done this season. I think this episode might have been slightly better than the last episode, but this episode was great. This episode, I think, put The Walking Dead for this season on track. Like, it's finally going to go somewhere. And I think what's going to happen is it's built into this big group fight where it's going to be the Saviors versus Rick's group, the Hilltop, and obviously I expect the Kingdom to get involved. And I actually am looking forward to that because I think that would be awesome. And I'm assuming at the end of the season, Negan will be killed off. But at the same time, I don't know if Negan really should be killed off at the end of the season because of how great he's been in this role. I feel like he needs to be one more. I feel like you can get one more season out of him. I feel like you can get 3 out of him. But we'll have to wait and see. Because I feel like even if they will fight this group, but either they'll lose, and then Rick will kind of go back to trying to figure out what to do, or they'll win, but won't take Negan out. Negan will find a way to survive. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to it. And I like this. I've enjoyed this storyline. It's like now we finally got the old Rick back. And now they have Dale, who knows that fucking place inside and out. So they do have something. And obviously they may get the numbers now because they have Rick's group, they have the Hilltop, and the Kingdom. So there you go. Looking forward to seeing what happens with this. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode. And I'm going to go watch the next episode and review that. So I'll be back probably in about 45 minutes or so.